The driving ethos of ancient Egypt was powerful to virtue and wisdom. We see this dazzling clarity when we consider the Egyptian approach to the problem of life and death. The ancient Egyptians were convinced there was a higher order, living and eternal. They conceived of this deified cosmic order as a combination of justice and truth, and it is called Maat. Given the premise, the process of living the inner life, deepening and perfecting it, became synonymous with the exercise of intelligence. Whoever aspired to live forever the life of gods in the company of the blessed had to make a conscious effort to live according to a set of rules designed for the purpose of dominating death, transcending mortality, and affirming life. The straight path to eternal life was morality. Funeral rites, embalming, sacrificial offerings to the deceased and to the gods, rituals performed by priests qualified to wear leopard skin cloaks during burial ceremonies, sarcophagi, statues, and inscriptions in the tombs. All this panoply was imagined, invented, and deployed in order to help the dead to attain eternity, that is to say, to merge self and cosmic order thanks to the achievement of bodily and spiritual purity. For only under conditions of absolute purity could the deceased take on the name of Osiris, ruler of the kingdom of the blessed. To achieve godhead, that is to say, to join the company of the blessed, more precisely known as the luminous ones, the deceased had to first acknowledge and assert their original kinship with the holy deities. That ancient Egypt recognized morality as law. Rules of behavior and moral conduct were codified so that the words attributed to the deceased constituted discourses on applied morality, by whose criteria individuals evaluated their own deeds, freely accomplished while they lived on earth among mortals. The sort of public confession involved was not an incantation of sorcerers' formulae, but a powerful performance, lucid and rational, through which the deceased asserted that they too possessed knowledge of the gods. I know you. Because they asserted insistently their status as pure beings, the individual deceased deserved to escape condemnation on the scales of justice. To do this, they evolved the power and beauty of words, declaring their innocence in the hall of the Maat deities before Osiris presiding over the court of 42 gods. What does this scenario indicate? Maat is justice, a way of intelligent, conscious living, a concept at once ethical and speculative, a logos. In his splendid Traits de Virtus, Vladimir Jankelevich writes a passage which might well serve as an apt explication of Maat. There is an abstract justice, an external truth, and an immortal principle protests against human injustice. The ancient Egyptians, whether they were kings or ordinary persons, lived under the imprint of Maat. Justice, truth. The life, one way to true happiness, peace, beauty, and the intelligible life. Hence the use of solar light as a symbol of Maat. What, after all, is true knowledge but that which leads to wisdom? Pharaonic Egypt made an enormous contribution to human progress when it defined an ethical ideal, high-minded and inseparable around 1680 BC. It was from the green banks of the old river Nile that the breath of wisdom, balance, and greatness first blew. In time, that breath was to refresh the shores of the Mediterranean. This ideal is precious intellectual and spiritual capital. Some details of Egyptian ritual design have been transmitted all the way to us today. Examples include the scales of justice, with the land of the damned to the left, the abode of the blessed to the right, the court of the great god, or of history with a capital H. Knowledge of the Sphinx obtained through the power of light opens a still higher realm in the heavens. For the Sphinx is the affirmation of the absolute and the divine, the image and symbol of ancient Egyptian civilization. All of pharaonic civilization aspires to merge with the cosmos of Maat, truth, justice. Its desire for eternity places beyond life and death. These are the same prohibitions, taboos, and moral injunctions we find in ancient Egypt. It is a highly altruistic morality embracing the other stranger. It is an ethical system that does not tolerate adultery, fornication, lying, and the use of coercion to mistreat the weak. This type of behavior is condemned as evil, while loving kindness, plus the community spirit that leads people to share their food and drink, are lauded as virtues. This is a description of the moral system of a Black African community now. Readers might suppose they were reading an excerpt from chapter 125 of the ancient Egyptian Maat, and that means driving out iniquity. Maat enjoins bodily and spiritual purity, scrupulous respect for social norms, the practice of charity and generosity. Another command of Maat is that the poor should be protected. The Court of Deified Ancestors. There is a Court of the Ancestors which adjudicates between the just and the impious. We know that the ancestors and deities invariably take vengeance on the living through warnings, illnesses, and death. The 42 deities in the Hall of Judgment are part of the courts in the place of truth. Judgment and truth refer back to Maat and to the day of the assessment of virtues and vices before Osiris, lord of the two Maat qualities. Peace, happiness, and serenity, and the yearning for eternity. According to Bee tradition, there is a supreme court in the land of the ancestors, where the virtuous are rewarded and the unjust punished. A number of funeral dirges express this concept eloquently. One says, "Our home is the abode of the dead. Fresh happiness awaits those who lived in serene patience. This means never caused harm while alive. Let More, creator of all, welcome to a peaceful place." The author's commentary is of the utmost relevance. Through their belief in survival after death, Bee expresses their yearning for eternity. By interpreting death as a transition to a better, more dignified life, they bar the way to despair. In the ancient Egyptian tradition, the justified deceased, Ma, who enters the hall of two Maat sisters, which is also the place of truth, Maat, can attain eternal beatitude among the blessed Mati. The deified ancestors, seeing her as one whose mouth and hands are pure, say to her, "Come in peace." In the land of the Pharaoh, eternity was a synonym for peace, since the divinities of justice, truth rewarded the just with light eternal and happiness in the abode of the dead. The ultimate identification of ancestor veneration with cosmic order. For the Bee, the essential functions of the cult of the ancestors might be summed up as follows: to reorganize the balance of spiritual forces in such a way as to ensure metaphysical and social order, to guarantee the fertility of the earth by planting ritual seed, to renew society by reinvigorating its vital forces, to assert life as an eternal process, to comfort the dead by preparing them to share the life of the blessed ancestors. Maat, as transcendental justice, is also cosmic order, universal balance of nature and the entire cosmos. It is the energy that animates both the visible and invisible worlds. Knowing that this transcendent force governs the world of the living and that they are dependent on it, the Bee, as in most times past, wish to strengthen their ties with it. It would have been feasible to cite other studies no less pertinent on Black African conceptions of death and the afterlife. But Komla Agbatiata's book presents a decisive advantage. Neither an anthropological nor an ethnological text, it is a direct testimony from within, an insider's experience, felt and lived, and for that reason all the more credible. On a wide range of key existential issues such as death, immortality, afterlife, ethics, the cosmic vital force, human conduct on earth, judgment and the court of judgment in the abode of the dead, the traditions of the Bee community of Togo and those of ancient Egyptian society, present a series of cultural parallels so astonishingly close that they provide definitive insights into the cultural, human and social identity of the two Black African societies. To this day, here and there in the depths of Africa, the ancient Egyptian worldview survives in agrarian ritual, the veneration of the dead, ceremonial rites for deified ancestors, essential conceptions of social and communal life, death, the afterlife and the cosmic order. This worldview embraces deities, ancestors, the dead and the living in a continuous stream of transitions between arcs of reality which together form one vast, dynamic cosmogony. In its fundamental aspects, the morality of pharaonic Egypt is still palpable within numerous Black African societies today. In that sense, these societies are keeping alive an ethical heritage many thousands of years old. a study of ancient Egypt sheds light on contemporary Black African traditions. If you enjoyed this exploration of Maat and its influence, please subscribe, like, and share this video to support our channel. Conversely, today's living Black societies, though historically affected by foreign spiritual, ideological, moral, and other values, still retain Egyptian and Nubian civilizations of the Nile Valley. In that broad sense, the universe of ancient Egyptian ritual is not yet dead. It survives in ritual observances still vital in the depths of Black African society. The magnificent ritual corpus of ancient Egypt, with its wide range of nuances, its ethical vision, and its practical precepts, made it possible for Egyptians to give their earthly existence an aura of truth, gentleness, and a picturesque beauty which moves us to this day. To summarize, the values we've been discussing are part of a philosophy of well-being. That philosophy is the exact antithesis of a philosophy that plunges individuals and groups into nihilism, desolation, or the deliberate cultivation of anger. In the long run, so-called rational philosophies, which end up producing terror, dictatorship, fascism, or Nazism, do not create a moral system worthy of human beings, supposedly separated from paleontological kin. Please like, share this video, and subscribe to this channel.